Are we live? How's the audio? How we doing? Hello. Yes. Okay. I hope. Let me know. I just want to double check and make sure the audio's all right before we get too much. Oh, I forgot to update the stream goal. Oh, I'll do the next time. We'll do that next time. Anyways, welcome back to Heatwave 2.0. It is 95 degrees. I need to charge my phone. You don't want to hang out in the bed? Want to hang out in there? Okay. Yes. Yes, made it at the beginning. Congrats. Oh, I am sorry about the headache. Or migraine, rather. That's the worst. Bit rate? What do you mean? No, my bit rate's fine. Be quiet, YouTube. I'm doing pretty good, other than the heat wave. You know, we're surviving, we're coping. Heat wave, what you gonna do, you know? So kind of what I was thinking for this stream today is, for like the first hour, we would do like a regular Q&A, kind of whatever you all want to talk about. Because I know the last couple streams, we've been doing more like theme stuff. So we talked about brats, we talked about rope bondage, what did we talk about before that? It's like how to spot fake doms or something, I think. So I figured today we just have like, I mean, it always is, but like the theme today is that there is no theme and kind of just whatever y'all want to talk about, we will discuss. You ask questions, I answer them. I have this mug from Target. It says, "Love you very much." And it currently has cold brew, caffeine-free, orange herbal tea in it. So, you know, the usual. And let me see really quickly before we get into things too far. 18 plus only. Please read the rules. If you are not 18 yet, please do not be here. That is for your safety, my safety, everyone's safety. It's not because I think you're stupid or you don't know what you're into or anything like that. It is about safety and the fact that it is really, really, really dubious to have minors and adults together in like a BDSM oriented space. So, please do not be here. Not for you. When you turn 18, come back. We'd love to have you. Other than that, just some core key rules. I do have an FAQ down below, so if you ask me like a really general, I feel like my audio is peaking. Let me fix that. I am move that to where I can see it a little better. Okay. Yes, FAQ down below. Read it. Love it. I have not updated it for a while, so it probably needs to get gone through again. But if you have a question that's like, help, how do I make my boyfriend be a dom? Where can I buy a flogger? Where did you get your collar from? Those things are all in the FAQ below. And if you ask something that's in the FAQ, I probably won't answer it. But yeah, if you're wondering why I'm skipping over your question, it's probably because it's in the FAQ. I also will skip over questions if you like spam it repeatedly. So I answer questions in the order that they come in. So if you ask something at the beginning of the stream and you spam it like 2, 3, 4 times, like I'm not going to get to it, I do try to always give time towards the end of the stream, like the last like 10 or 15 minutes, to give everyone a reminder in case I did miss something. But generally, those are the big ones. Also, no medical advice, and I don't give medical advice. I don't give mental health advice. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a professional. If you ask me something like that, I'm either going to ignore it or say, talk to a professional, because I am not equipped to help anyone with their like medical issues. So I don't go there. That is why that rule's in place. So, yeah, I think that's where we're gonna start from. Let me scroll back here and then just whatever you guys want to talk about. Could be poly stuff, BDSM stuff, asexuality stuff, anime, video games. What's my favorite type of vegan macaroni and cheese? It could be anything that you guys want to hear about. And as long as it's in the rules, we will talk about it. Probably during an extended rant because I am prone to those. Love the Figging 101 vid this afternoon. Thank you so much. I don't know if it's like you guys or the algorithm or both, but I kind of got away from doing BDSM 101 videos for a while just because I just go through creative phases where like I'm really drawn to doing like one type of video or a different type of video, and so I wasn't really doing them for a little while, like as much. And both the figging one I just did and the one I did before that on tickle torture have both done like really well. And I know the figging one I think is more like you all as an audience, which is awesome. I think the tickle torture one was like some weird algorithm moment where it was like, we need to share this to everyone because my view time on it was really low. Like it was like 4 minutes was like the average view duration. But the views, especially at the beginning, were like really, really high. So it was like somehow the algorithm was like, this is the video that we're gonna suggest to everyone. And but the figging, I almost combined tickle torture and figging into figgling, which seems like it should be the name of like a Teletubby, but I was surprised by that, but like pleasantly so, obviously. So I'm definitely gonna keep doing more BDSM 101 videos. I'm kind of playing around with a few ideas for my next one. Like I was thinking about doing like chastity maybe, but there's so many that I haven't made yet. So if you all do have like an idea or something you want to see from a BDSM 101 video that I haven't done yet, like I know I want to update my one on knife play. I need to do one on electro play. I know there's so much 101 content that I haven't made yet that needs to be talked about. So if anyone has any strong ideas about what you think a really cool BDSM 101 video would be, let me know. I do also have a lot of ones that are like older that could probably be like redone and revisited, as evidenced by the fact that my figging video was 23 minutes long, even though it was just about putting ginger in people's orifices. Like you think that's like a really simple topic, and then you get into it and you realize there's like these chemical reactions going on, and trying to figure out why there's been this like weird historical suggestion for like making it moldy and like that being fine, and going down like that research rabbit hole, and all that's really, really interesting. Oh, we have a super chat here from Germanic Bear for Liberty. Not a question, I've just always wanted to say you're beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We already do makeup later on, so stick around for that. I don't know why. I feel like the way I'm holding my mug right now is probably offensive to someone. If it is and you don't like that I'm doing this, I'm sorry. I'm holding it like a bowl. I know I'm not civilized, I don't think. I'm not sure if I've actually been civilized yet. Makeup tonight, fun, even though the closet I get closest I get to liking makeup is corpse paint. It should still be fun. Yeah. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. 11 in the morning here in Melbourne, Australia. Well, it's interesting then, because that actually means the stream time works out for people in Australia then, because it's like early in the morning on Saturday. This is like Australian kinky Saturday morning cartoons. Does Australia have Saturday morning cartoons? Is that like ever a thing that happened? Let me know. Oh no, that's so hard. I'm waiting for my partner to call, and he just said, "Are you free later?" earlier today without any indication of what time later is. Oh God, this is like such a classic communication issue, because like people think, okay, I'm giving my partner the information they need. I'm saying I need to talk to you later. Like, are you free? But just saying that and nothing else is like anxiety central waiting to happen, because basically what you're doing is you're You're like, it has that same flavor to it as like, we need to talk. Which at least in American English has this like we're about to break up flavor to it. And so anytime you get like a we need to talk, are you free later? Like, do you have the energy for a hard conversation? Anything like that is like wee, like alarm bells going off. Something's gonna go wrong. Not a good place to be in mentally, especially when you don't even know like what time later is or what to expect. And it could literally just be, oh, I was really busy at work, but I really wanted to make sure you were free later so I could tell you about my day or ask you about like going to a party this weekend. Or it could be completely innocuous, but there is still that like, ooh, this could be like a bad thing. So the point of me saying all that is if you are communicating to a partner and maybe it is a difficult conversation, don't like leave people in that vague space of not knowing, of just saying like, can we talk later? Are you free later? I need to talk to you about something. Like, it could be a positive thing, right? Like maybe you want to talk to them about like a new kink you want to try. Just give more information about what the conversation is going to be like beforehand. So I would say something like, I have this fun idea I'd like to talk about. Are you free later? Then it's not like a scary breakup thing. You're like, oh, cool, they have like a fun idea. Sweet. Much, much, much better headspace to be in than just the worry and panic of not knowing what's gonna happen. Not saying it's what you're going through, Massa Moose or Massa Mouse. I'm never sure. Pretty sure it's Massa Mouse, not Moose. But yeah, just wanted to leapfrog off of that because I have been on both ends of that one a couple of times. I'm sure most of us have been, and it's not always a fun place to be. Hmm. BDSM camp season's upon us. We are vaxxed and raring to go. I know that there was a local organization here that put together a camping event, but I haven't. I didn't sign up for it. Like I had an opportunity to volunteer for it, but I was like, no. And like also, especially with Bandit, like her leg is still hurt. I could go on a whole rant about this, but I was suffice to say, it is more difficult to get my dog in to see a vet than it is for like me to go see a doctor. Like I have called a couple different places for like surgery just for consultations and they're 12 weeks out. Like I don't even know how that's possible. I How does that happen? And they say like, oh, it's because of COVID, and I'm like, well, dogs don't get COVID, so is it because less people are like less vets are working because of COVID? I don't know. It's been really strange. So any sort of camping thing, like I wouldn't be able to take Bandit with me, and I wouldn't want her to like if I had to be gone for like a long weekend, like that's like pretty expensive to like hire a nice like pet sitter because I wouldn't want her to go to a boarding place. Like I'd want her to have like one-on-one attention like in someone's house. So I have not signed up for any camping related things this summer, kind of because of that, but also just because no one I knew was going to the camping. And I also don't own anything to camp with. Like I don't own a tent or a sleeping bag or anything like that. I don't have I would have to go to one of those places where they have like the Adirondacks or like the covered cabins where you just like get a sleeping bag and you sleep there. Like if that was an arrangement I could do, then I could probably go camping, but not like full tent camping. But it is really fun. I do really, 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 really love BDSM camping, especially like around this time of year, like when it's like late July, early August, mid August, because usually in the places around here where you go camping, it's a lot cooler than it is like in the city or elsewhere. So even if it's like 95 degrees here, in the shade, in the forest, it's going to be like 85, 80 degrees. And if the whole goal is to be naked outside as much as possible and like doing kinky stuff, like that's a pretty good temperature to be at. But at the same time, I don't know what the fire risk like warning is here. So I don't actually know if you'd be able to have like a fire at the camping event around this time of year anyways. So some pluses and minuses. Before and after makeup, do you have a skincare routine? I do. I do have a skincare routine. I could go into it if people want to. Basically, in the morning after I take a shower, I use cleanse, 2% BHA, serum treatment, mist, moisturizer, sunscreen, and then I put on a different sunscreen before I go outside. And then at nighttime, cleanse, and then I alternate between a retinol and an AHA, and then I do a different serum treatment, and then I do a mist and a different moisturizer. There you go. That's the routine. When I take off my makeup, I have one of those like makeup eraser wipes. So I usually use those, and then if that doesn't get off all of the makeup gunk stuff, like especially like false eyelashes glue, like that's really hard to get out. So if there's like false eyelash glue and stuff like that I need to get out, or just like if I wore like a lot of really like dark eye makeup, I'll usually use just like some kind of oil, like jojoba oil, rosehip oil, rice bran oil, whatever it is I've got like lying around. It may or may not be a skincare oil. I don't tend to use like coconut oil or like olive oil, like cooking oils for makeup removing stuff, but I do like experiment with like different oils and things, especially for like body like moisturizer stuff or putting it in like a bathtub. So I kind of just use whatever I have around for that to remove whatever excess is left. So, and I do the makeup removal obviously like before I do any of the like usually I do if I'm taking off makeup I usually do the makeup removing wipe and then oil and then like the actual like facial cleanser. So my skin gets a lot of cleansing if I'm having to take off makeup, especially if it's like heavy duty like filming day makeup, because if I'm going out or if I'm just like putting on foundation and blush or something, I don't have nearly as much that needs to be taken off at the end of the day versus like if it's a filming day where I've got like the false eyelashes and everything else going on. So I did get an advertisement on Instagram yesterday that was for like I don't remember what the brand is now, but I took a screenshot of it, and it's supposed to be some kind of like sunscreen mist that you can spray on like over top of your makeup, which I haven't seen before. Because there are some places that make like a facial mist, like for sunscreen for like reapplication, and most of them require you like rub them into your skin after you spray them on. This like doesn't seem to require that. So I am a little bit intrigued. But yeah, definitely like always got to have that sunscreen. Studies show that when you're applying sunscreen, it's the second application that gets you the full SPF. So that's why I always put it on twice before I leave the house. Not that I ever go anywhere. So, you know, that's mostly just the one. Because I do have like windows in front of my work area. So like even if I'm not directly going outside, there's like I don't really get direct sunlight. There's a pretty big like overhang in front of my window. So and there's like a big like house apartment complex across the street, and so I don't really get any direct sunlight, but I just like put it on because it's a good habit to have, and like I am probably getting some UVA UVB exposure, so you know. Anyways, no one cares about sunscreen. I care about sunscreen because people ask me like, why are you the same color as your mug? My family's British. I don't know what to tell you. That's that's my family's British. We don't have melanin where I come from. It doesn't exist. It's not something we have. Um little melony snack. That sounds good. I had peaches earlier. I had like peaches and almond milk. I've been doing that a lot lately because I find that like the fruit goes bad pretty fast. So what I'll do is I'll cut up some berries, like some strawberries, blueberries, peaches, whatever it is I've got in the fridge. If they're starting to go like a little bit soft and kind of at the end of their life, I will kind of like I'll cut them up, or like for blueberries, I'll kind of smush them a little bit. I'll sprinkle some sugar on them, like a teaspoon of sugar, and then I'll put them like back in the fridge in a bowl and I'll let them. I always macerate, I think is the word. I get masticate and macerate mixed up. I think is maceration is what's happening, and the sugar like breaks down the fruit a little bit, like makes it a little bit sweeter, and then I put a little bit of like almond milk on top of it. Very good, and also it's cold, which is nice. That's really the main thing. Very quick question. Are you a mold doctor like the new video? I'm not a mold doctor. I can neither diagnose problems with the molding on your walls in terms of interior design issues, nor can I diagnose any issues with mold or funguses that you may find in your food or in your floorboards. So sorry, I can't help. I can't help with that. I I forgot that there was a word for now I can't. I somebody typed it out too. Mycologist, I think is how you pronounce it. I forgot that was a word for things. Anyways, I don't know if anybody else has like researched that at all in terms of like a scientific explanation for like what is up with the moldy ginger recommendation. Because I still can't figure that out. I had this thought when I was in the car earlier today when I went to go to my post office box actually, and I was thinking, okay, well maybe it's that because they're sealing it in like an airtight bag, it's undergoing this like anaerobic reaction, and like the residuals like from that anaerobic reaction like make makes the ginger all feel intense. Like, could that be a thing? Like, is it basically like producing alcohol, and like the alcohol that's now in the moldy ginger is making the ginger all feel more intense? Like, does that like increase the sensation of the spiciness on someone? I don't know if that's what's happening. I don't have a microscope or a lab or like any sort of shit to like figure any of this out, but that was the other thought I had. But then it can't be anaerobic, because if it was, then there wouldn't be anything to like help the mold grow. Like, so I don't know. It can't really be an anaerobic environment if mold's growing, now is it? Right? Unless, is there mold that grows without any oxygen being present? Is that a thing that can happen? If it's like truly airtight? Anyways, I don't know who the fuck came up with that idea. I want to know. That is like BDSM history question number one for me right now, is like, who came up with the idea of making ginger moldy before putting it in somebody's orifice, and that supposedly making it more intense? Because that is a wild thing to suddenly come up with out of the blue, I feel like. I've been in the scene 15 years and only discovered your work during isolation. You're very sensitive and nuanced. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, game player. I definitely don't know everything, but I try really hard to know a lot and share what I do know and be clear about things that I don't. And I hope that I have reasonable ethical standards for what I discuss. So, thank you. Can ask about anything, eh? Favorite spice while cooking? Normally I probably would say ginger. I do really like the flavor of ginger. But other than that, probably smoked paprika. Put that on everything for sure. I didn't have any, but I recently was around a group of people that were expounding on the merits of furikake, which is like the Japanese like seasoning spice. They were having it on eggs, so like I didn't eat any of it, obviously, but they were like, "Oh my gosh, so good, put it on everything." And I'm like, "I've never had that before." I'm sure it is good. I've never had it. So, but yeah, my actual answer is smoked paprika. Hi from Norway. Welcome, welcome, Tyla. Hopefully Norway is not over 40 degrees Celsius, which from my understanding is hot. What is some good scene music? That is a great question. Let me see. Scene music. I was thinking about this earlier today actually, because I realized I do have a playlist on my channel that I made a long time ago that is like a scene playlist for music, but it totally depends on like what kind of scene you want to have and the energy you want in that scene, because I think the music that you would listen to for like a soft like romantic sensation play scene would be really different from an intense like masochistic interrogation scene, you know? Like it totally depends on what you're doing, and it's hard to sort of have a one size fits all like what's a good music to play during a scene. I have always really recommended the person that does the music for Kink Fest, and I think they still have a SoundCloud. I think I have it bookmarked. SoundCloud. No, that's not it. I want SoundCloud Kink Fest. Oh, it's gonna bother me if I can't like find this again because I was pretty sure I bookmarked it. Now I gotta find it again and bu- 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 okay. I know that they are on FetLife. It's like one of those things where because it wasn't immediately easy for me to find, I am now. Oh, here it is. DJ Second Life. See? I knew I was gonna find it again. Are there links somewhere? Oh, is it not? Sorry, it's not SoundCloud. They're on Mixcloud, which I guess is different. I will link it so that way you guys can enjoy it. But they have the playlists on there for every single night of the Kingfest parties. I know they did 2019, which was the last year it happened in person. So I don't know if there's like previous stuff to that, but I really enjoyed their stuff. So if you like don't want to put together your own playlist and you just like want to have cool music, I really like that, but obviously it's not going to work for every scene. If you want to do a coloring night with a little like definitely going to have different music, you know? So, but generally I think if you're looking for something for like impact play, right? You want to look for something that's gonna have like a strong tempo to it, not like too fast, not like I don't know, early 2000s trap house music. I don't know the words for electronic music stuff. I'm sorry. I don't have words. But you want something that's like a strong beat to it but isn't like too fast cuz you want to use the rhythm as like sort of the pattern for your scene. Like if it's during impact play, you want to keep with the pattern of the beat for when you strike. It doesn't have to be in like every beat, but if it's like every other beat, every third beat, every fourth beat, something that you can have a rhythm to that you can maintain can really help you get in the space and also like help your partner get into the headspace that they want. If you want something that's going to be like scary and fearful, like horror movie soundtracks would be a great idea. If you want something more like lighthearted, like some dancey, upbeat pop music, also just playing people's favorite music in general can be a really good way to have sort of like an intimate scene that says like I'm here and I like know you and I understand you because even if it doesn't necessarily make sense for the theme of the scene you're doing, if you're just trying to connect with your partner, suddenly having your favorite artist or your favorite song come on in a playlist can be like really like emotionally impactful for the person experiencing that. So also whatever just makes you feel like toppy or dommy or whatever, also a perfectly valid option. If you have like a particular artist or a type of genre of music that helps you feel like more confident and more powerful, go for that too. And obviously, that can also be part of the negotiation process. If you don't have your own ideas about what you'd like, you can always ask other people around you, the people you're going to be playing with, like, what kind of music do you like to listen to? And if they have an opinion, they can tell you, you know? So, yeah, there is unfortunately not one like good answer that works for every BDSM scene there. Personally, I prefer stuff that's like a little bit like slower tempo, but still like dark kind of at the same time. Like not like pop music, not like Ariana Grande or whatever, but something that's like sensual but dark. Um, you know? And I think it's kind of the most common stuff you're typically gonna run into at dungeon parties as well is gonna be somewhere between that and like industrial music maybe or like certain types of like rock music maybe as well you probably hear. So yeah, there's a little bit of variety out there. Oh, really good question, Nicole. What happens when you and your Dom have completely different views slash interests? Sorry, I laughed because I saw a different question that's like, it's amazing. We're just gonna go from like serious to not serious here really quickly. So, um, is this so? I think it's there are different ways to handle this depending on like when you find this out in your relationship. Because if it's something where, like, you met on, like, OkCupid or, like, a FetLife Personal or something, or just at a munch and you were kinda, like, physically attracted to them, and then you get talking and you find out that, like, "Oh, well, I'm very much into power exchange, but I don't wanna do MS, and my main kinks are DDLG and rope bondage, and impact play is like a hard no." And the other person's like, "Well, I'm really into DS, but the only thing I want is MS, and I am really into like hardcore like S&M, like sadomasochism stuff at the same time." They're like, "Okay, then you're just not going to be compatible as play partners," and then you just like say, "Hey, thanks for the coffee, bye, see you later." Like, you just move on, and you don't necessarily owe them anything. They don't necessarily owe you anything because you're not in a relationship yet. You haven't like established anything, and so like it's a lot easier to just be like, "Okay, hey, we're not going to be compatible. I see who you are." And that's how it is. If it's something where you've been in a relationship for a while, and especially if you started like in a vanilla relationship, and like please let me know if you have like more particulars about this that you would feel comfortable sharing so I can give like a more accurate answer. Like, is this like you just met this person? Is this like a vanilla relationship that went kinky? Did you start out together in BDSM but now you're kind of going different directions? Because all of that is going to have little different variables to it. So if you're somebody that you're in a vanilla relationship and then you open it up to like become kinky and you develop this DS relationship with a vanilla relationship underneath it, but you kind of discover that you both have different things you're into. Like, they're really into kind of more like fetishy stuff. Like, they're really into like latex and feet and balloons, and like they're into stuff that's more like sexual, like fetish oriented, and you're kind of more like lifestyle 24/7 like service stuff. Then like, yeah, there's like you can both be open to doing kink, but you're not necessarily going to be compatible. And I think at that point you have to ask yourself some questions about, do I want BDSM that fulfills me, or do I want this relationship? Now, I'm assuming you're monogamous, because if you're polyamorous, like, there's different solutions for this that just involve, like, not having kink be in that relationship, and maybe having that relationship go in a different direction when you find other people that are able to more, like, be compatible with your kink needs.
Relathune donated $5.
Oh, thank you!
Song ideas. Full Bodied by Ghost Data.
Oh yeah, if you're into, like, electronic music, like, Ghost Data has some pretty good stuff. It is kind of like weeaboo anime shit, though, a little bit, so be aware, but that might be your thing. Yeah, what was I talking about? So, yeah, at that point, you have to ask yourself, like, do I want the BDSM, or do I want the relationship, and how do we work that out? Because if your views are just like totally incompatible and there's no overlap and there's no way that you can make that kink relationship work, then you do kind of have to like pick if you want one or the other. And like some people decide that like they'd rather just not have kink, and like having a stable vanilla like household raising kids is like more important to them. Other people are like, I really like need BDSM in my life, and because that can't be with you, I have to have those needs met somewhere else, either like with a different person, with a professional, poly relationship, something. And I mean, I say this, but there is like room for compromise at the same time. If you are dealing with like a more mild level of incompatibility in terms of like you have some things that overlap, but then other things that don't overlap at all, like you can find those spots for compromise. But I think, for me, if I had somebody like that I was playing with, like they would just be a play partner for me, and I would only do the things with them that we had shared interests in. I wouldn't like try to force a whole relationship out of that, because ultimately we're both going to end up either feeling like we were forced to do things that we didn't want to do, or we're going to have to feel like we compromised away a lot of the things that we find most enjoyable. And ultimately, what you want to avoid is having unfulfilling relationships that waste people's time, including your own and theirs. And so either you have to kind of evaluate, like, is there room for compromise? Would I be fulfilled by that compromise? Or do I want to leave kink out of the relationship? Or do I want to move on and find something that I am kind of more kink compatible with? I think some people assume that, like, if you're a submissive, and you're in a DS relationship and you have different views or interests or things you want to do in your kink, that you as the submissive will like adapt your desires to be for the dominant. And I think there are definitely, especially have a more like service oriented dynamic, there is certainly sorry, microphone, what are you doing over there? Okay. Okay. Hi, microphone. So yeah, if some people assume that if you are submissive and you're in a DS relationship, that means that you are going to like learn what the dom likes, right? You might not care about lingerie, latex, heels, paddling, cigar service, whatever, you name it. You could not be into those things, and some people will say, "Oh, well, like if you're a real service submissive, a true submissive does whatever the dom wants because it's ultimately like about the dom's happiness or whatever, just whatever stuff they're spewing out that day." And I think to some extent, you can sort of stretch yourself and do things that are purely an act of service if that is fulfilling for you in a DS relationship. If you are not service oriented and you don't get some kind of secondary pleasure over doing something for somebody else in that big of a way, then that's ultimately going to erode like whatever relationship you have. And I think it's better to either maintain a vanilla relationship or a friendship than having a shitty, unfulfilling BDSM relationship, Like, ultimately, again, we're trying to avoid having crappy, unfulfilling relationships for everyone involved. And so, yeah, it's not necessarily a situation where you as a submissive have to like submit yourself entirely to just do whatever it is they want to do and never have your own needs fulfilled. Like, you have to start that negotiation at a place of like being egalitarian. And part of that is advocating for what you want and them hearing you and listening to you and respecting that. And if they're not doing that and just telling you to like get over it and do what they want anyways, like that's not generally ethical for most people. Certain MS relationships, certain TP relationships, the standards are going to be different because in those scenarios, people that are more drawn towards that level of power exchange are going to be more like secondarily fulfilled by kind of giving up their right to have all of their like interests met, basically. And they have this, again, there's that secondary pleasure that can come from doing things as a service even if you're not into them. But like if you're not a person that's motivated by that, then like you don't have to do that. Anyways, I rambled for a long time. Please let me know if this is like what you were talking about. If it's not, happy to re-answer it, but hopefully I gave some interesting thoughts in there. Thank you. Um, do you have a feather duster? I don't because I don't have anything that needs dusting. Mm. I do not answer questions about any particular scenes or locations or name people because I don't want to be sued for defamation and I don't want a general YouTube audience to know the kink places I go to or don't go to for that matter. So, please, if you ask me about like what parties are there in San Francisco, what dungeons are there in Chicago, uh, who do you recommend playing with in Florida? Like, one, I probably don't know. Two, this is not an appropriate platform for me to discuss that. Three, I really don't want everyone to know where I go to do kink stuff because I've already had enough problems with people recognizing me from YouTube when I'm trying to go to dungeons. I don't want to make that problem worse for me. If you want to know how a local kink scene is for yourself, I think you gotta have the bravery to go to like a munch. Just go to a munch. Talk to people, meet people. It could be a virtual munch, right? There's so many of those right now. Go to a virtual lunch, meet people, figure out the who's who. I've talked about this so many times in videos. You can't always rely on like a single secondhand source of information to say, oh, this scene's good or this scene's bad, because ultimately we're always going to have our own experiences of things. And like what is really great about a scene for one person, like they may love the fact that it's like all MS, leather culture, like super hardcore, like traditional, like power exchange, riding around on motorcycles on Saturday afternoons, like kind of stuff. And for the next person going into that scene is like totally not what they want at all. And they find people like rude or crass and they find that their needs can't be met or whatever else. And so, like, every scene is going to have different pockets in it of people that you like or don't like, or is just going to have a different flavor to it. So, and it also changes all the time, right? Like, You know, a scene could have a reputation for having a lot of rope or having a lot of blood play or having a lot of impact play or whips or whatever. And depending on like who's in the local scene at that time, that's organizing events and the venues that are around that are like, currently open, all of that can totally change. So if you want to find that information out, you got to go there yourself. You got to ask the questions. I cannot answer that for you, especially not on YouTube. Again, I've made so many videos talking about like how to find the kink scene, how to use FetLife, how to navigate things as like a new person and staying safe. Actually, I realized that some of these may not be live yet. I have 2 videos that I filmed. One is talking about like staying safe when entering the community. I have one that I recently did that's more geared towards rope bondage, but has a lot of valuable tips for people in general in the kink scene. And they have one that I filmed but haven't edited yet that will be about like how to find like play parties and like what types of events there are. So I've talked about that a lot in like older videos, especially. But yeah, I cannot tell you like how is the scene in Los Angeles? How is the scene in St. Louis? I don't know. I haven't been there in 2.5 years. So probably very different, even if I did have an answer I felt willing to give. Okay. Interesting question, Michelle. So Michelle says, so I've been talking with different male subs online for the past 6 months, and I found that I view most of them as being too clingy. Is this me not being as dom as I thought for the subs, or is it them? Uh, I'm kind of inclined to say it's them, but I don't mean that in a bad way. Because I think whatever baggage we take in from our vanilla lives, be that like a trauma history, a disordered attachment style, a lack of ability to deal with our emotions and daily stressors, whatever baggage we have from the vanilla world, that's totally gonna carry into our kinks. And I find that, this is a trend that I've noticed. I'm not trying to make any blanket statements here, but I've noticed that there is certainly a type of male submissive that is primarily online that tries to find basically doms as therapy substitutes that are like willing to handle like all of their unaddressed emotional baggage. Like, the meme where it's like men would literally rather storm the Bastille than go to therapy. Like, do you guys know that meme? Like, men would literally rather skydive than go to therapy. Like that meme on Twitter, it's that. And it's like I think there is sort of this tendency to, especially because I don't think these male submissives are like always particularly engaged in like educational content. They're like watching pornography, they have personal fantasies, and they don't like understand how you can't like take your emotional shit to like a potential partner, never address any of it yourself or own up to it, and then like expect them to be able to deal with it. And I think, the term clingy can be sort of dismissive because, at least, in my experience as being a female submissive that is primarily around like male dominance, and that's feedback I get from a lot of other people that are female submissives, is the term clingy for female submissives is basically used to describe any submissive that's like assertive about their needs. Like, if you complain that they ghost you for like 4 or 5 days at a time and then only respond when they want to ask for nudes, they're like, oh, you're being so clingy, stop it, I thought you were submissive, do what I want. Like, there can be that element of using clingy as like a derisive term to sort of shame somebody for like pointing out when your behavior isn't like emotionally engaged enough. But you as a dom get to be upfront about like what your style is and like what you're willing to offer. And if you don't want to be somebody's emotional support blanket, if you're not available to like help them to that level with like their emotions, then one, you can be upfront about it, and then two, like remind them of like your role is not their therapist, is not whatever it is that they're currently doing. But I think the clinginess, I almost want to say it's more like entitlement than clinginess sometimes, because again, I'm thinking of that like kind of online male submissive where it's about like pornography and personal fantasies, where like they see professional doms, especially, although they see kind of all doms as professional doms, honestly, to some extent, they kind of see doms as like a need fulfillment machine for like their own fetishes. And so they could be really like demanding of your time and not necessarily aware that like, you're like a full person that isn't just like a dom 24/7, right? So I would say I'm trying to think of anything else. But yeah, I think, if you don't necessarily want to be like super like somebody's like emotional wrong, like you're don't have to do that. If you don't want that in your relationships, but you should be upfront. And I think I guess I can analyze about this all day, and I'm certainly not a professional. So again, I'm trying really hard to not make it sound like we're trying to stereotype anybody, but like that's just like my observation, like from YouTube comments I get, stories I've had from friends, my own experiences interacting with people. But yeah, it's almost like I think at the core of it, there's sort of like because like, this is my psychoanalysis part of this is because most men are socialized that emotions are shameful and emotions are bad and you should hide your emotions and stuff them down. For a lot of male submissives, the way that they get to express that is in like kink relationships. And so you get to like just have all of this emotional just everywhere. And because they spent their whole lives in like every other space, every vanilla space, trying to hold all of that emotional weight down, it really comes down in kink. And so they haven't learned that they're at basically like young teenager level sometimes, I think, in terms of like being able to regulate their own emotions and being able to know how to appropriately handle their feelings with partners because there hasn't been any other space where they've been able to practice that, And so like they're kind of practicing like dealing with their emotions and being open with their vulnerability, like with you as a Dom. But that also emotionally puts you as a Dom in a very intense like position because you're dealing a lot with like somebody's emotions. You're dealing a lot with again potentially that like completely unregulated state of like pure emotionality and like desire for because I think it is like it's this very intense vulnerability. It's this very intense vulnerability and like desire to connect with someone in a way that you aren't like really allowed as like somebody who's socialized as a man and especially like in America and Western Europe like you're not allowed to express that way. And so they're just like, I think it's kind of just like a symptom of like how our culture generally treats masculinity. And then when men find themselves as like submissives in a BDSM context, that just sort of gets transferred over. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I feel like it might not make sense. That's how my brain thinks about it. That's what I think could be going on. But like, it is what it is, I guess. And yeah, I would say I think a lot of DOMs, like female DOMs that play primarily with like male submissives, would say there is a tendency towards that like emotional engulfment, I guess. All right, trying to think. I guess we're at like about an hour. So let me get my medical stuff. Where did my brain go to medical stuff? No, I have my makeup. Let me get my makeup, and then we will do makeup and we'll answer some more questions. Okay, that'll take me like I gotta get my mirror and a couple other things, so it might take me a minute. I might also I might also be kind of crazy, but all right, I'll be back in a second. We'll keep talking and we'll do some makeup at the same time. Alright, I think I have everything that I need. This probably won't be a disaster. It's like I've done my makeup on stream before. Yeah, this should be doable. Okay, let me find a question. Um Oh. Okay, so yeah, I'm with anxiety. My stomach is flipping, especially because I'm intent upon breaking up with him. So he saved me the initiation bit. Well, I guess if it's gonna be a mutually beneficial relationship end, then that's better. But yeah, breaking up in like a DS context is really, really hard for sure. Labor shortage, even for vets, I suppose. So in regards to the male sub question, Simi said, as a male sub, I think many are clingy, but I think it is more about our inability to communicate a need or possible abandonment trauma. That definitely could always be part of the equation. I don't know how this filter, if it will do anything, if it will work with this at all. We're gonna go for it. I'm just trying different things, because why not? Why not? Not that I need this really to be any more dewy than it is, but you know. Also, I do have a birthmark on my forehead right here, just in case anybody makes any comments. I'm aware I have something on my forehead. Been there since I was a wee lass, since I was literally born. That's that's how that happens. That's what birthmarks are. So, this is the Becca First Light priming filter, which I'm just trying kind of different primers with this, but this is the Ilia Super Serum Skin Tint SPF 40, which I was really excited about because it's a skin tint and it's actually my shade. I tried the MAC Face and Body and Zero, and it's not my shade. It's still like a little bit too dark. This is perfect, and I love the fact that it has like zinc oxide in it as like an additional sunscreen. Because as we've learned so far today, I really like sunscreen. And I'm not sure I like the applicator for it, but the reason I got this is because I wanted something I could put on with my hands. It smells a little bit weird, like going on at first. Like it doesn't really smell like sunscreen. It has almost like somewhere between like a Play-Doh like fruit smell, I guess. I don't know how else to describe it, but I like that it's very like I try to go. I haven't like perfected my technique for applying this, so we're trying different stuff here today. We're experimenting, and I just find that like it's kind of like if you ever use like a mineral foundation, like if you ever use like Bare Minerals or anything like that. I haven't personally, but from what I've watched for videos about it, you can see now it matches my neck. Look at that shade match, baby. I think that looks like pretty. Gotta make sure you get in the nose. It's very attractive. Uh, but yeah, I feel like once it's like fully blended in, it looks really nice. Very, very light. That's what we want. Could probably do my ears, but I always wear my hair down pretty much, so I don't. And I don't really got a lot on my forehead, so I'm gonna do a little bit more on my forehead, I think. Mm. I don't usually put a lot on my actual eyes because I tend to cover that up with makeup. But I figure if I just have a little bit of my fingertips, I might as well, you know? No, I feel like this always goes on looking really nice, but definitely very, very light coverage. I like the fact that it doesn't like fully cover up like my freckles necessarily. I think it looks really like glowy and nice. But yeah. Also, of course, you can't beat the extra SPF. I don't think, I wonder though, if you're like kind of a darker skin tone, like if you're like a deep skin tone, because this does have zinc oxide in it, I know they have like a really wide range of shades. So I actually don't know how that would perform if you have like a darker skin tone. But I'm just gonna let that sit for a minute before I put anything else on my face. Because it's not, I can feel like it's not like fully set yet. And I'm gonna like blend some cream on top of this, so. I'm only just learning now how to use false eyelashes. Trust me, I literally learned how to put on false eyelashes like within 2020, I want to say. Like I think I learned how to put them on like during a live stream recently, like when I was in this apartment. So it's not exactly been that long of a journey for false eyelashes for me. It just honestly what it took was having good eyelash glue. I'm not gonna put on eyelashes today because I can't be arsed, but I like, is it the Kiss? I think it's the Kiss uh eyelash glue is like really good. I've tried all the duo glues. I don't like the applicator. I don't like how they work. I've tried all of them, all the ones that all the big YouTubers recommend. I don't like the duo glue. It just doesn't work for me. I like the Kiss ones I've tried have been good. Hmm. Evie, have you thought about making an OnlyFans in the future down the line? Uh, I have thought about it, but I just don't know. Like, I just have this feeling that like sooner rather than later, OnlyFans is going to be like, no BDSM content. This is a family-friendly adult website. Like, that's what I fully expect to happen. Is that they're going to be like, this is a family-friendly adult website. Actually, it's not an adult website at all. This is for influencers to connect intimately with their fans. I feel like they're just going in a direction of like courting influencers and they don't actually care about like sex workers TBH. So I I there's a so there is a YouTuber. I don't actually know how to pronounce his channel name, but it's like Kunkin Duster, I want to say. He put out a video recently, and I like he's kind of a smaller channel, so like shout out to him. We're kind of in the same boat. But he put out a video that was really good about like what TikTok finally did, like made me delete the app. Because obviously the most two recent like big social medias are TikTok and OnlyFans, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, you should." I don't know if this is gonna help the audio at all, but technically it's closer to me now. You should do OnlyFans. You should get on TikTok, promote your channel. Well, it turns out that TikTok actually isn't really that great for promoting a YouTube channel, and also at the same time, it has a lot of like weird things. Like you can talk about a hot current event, and it'll just like delete your videos. And if you have, like, there was like a creepy trend that was going on that was like, what would you do to me if I was with you for 24 hours and like I couldn't say no? It's like the consent practices here are not robust. And so they have this like weird, like, they're like, oh, we make family friendly content. This is like a 13 plus website. But then they allow like creepy trends where people are like duetting people's videos, where people are like, yeah, if you couldn't say no for 24 hours and you were with me, this is what I do. And it's like, this is okay, but okay, whatever. So TikTok's definitely a no. I really want to do a video. Uh, I don't know how immediately, but at some point, maybe in the next like couple weeks, I really like to do a video where I like react to people's favorite TikToks. Like I'd like to have like 2 videos, like one where I react to people's favorite BDSM TikToks, like the good ones, like the ones that make you laugh, that are like genuinely funny or like informational. Like I like to have ones like reacting to good TikToks, and then I want to react to like the cringy bad BDSM TikToks. That is how I want to engage in TikTok. If I do, I realize I'm not talking about OnlyFans, but I feel like it's sort of a related area. Because with OnlyFans, I feel like it's not actually that sex worker friendly, and I try not to support platforms that are like anti sex worker. Like that's why I'm not Instagram anymore. Like I'm mostly on Twitter if I'm on other social media outside of YouTube. Like they're not anything related to Facebook is not sex worker friendly, and OnlyFans is I think more about influencers. And I feel like there was like a peak of OnlyFans where like a bunch of people joined it, and like people were like, oh, you make all this money with this stuff. And I definitely know people that make really good money in OnlyFans and it works with their content, but like I'm asexual, I talk about BDSM, I don't know like what I would post on there. I would treat it as like an emergency like Patreon substitute. Like if something real funky happened to Patreon for some reason, where they got bought by Yahoo and like a Tumblr happened where they got rid of all their not safe for work like content creators on Patreon, like then I would go to OnlyFans or a different platform. But otherwise, I just don't really know how I'd use it. You know, other versus other things. What are we thinking of the skin look so far? Are we digging it? Are we loving it? No, no, no shade to OnlyFans or people that use OnlyFans. I know a lot of people that have a lot of success on there. I just don't know if it works with my brand. Like, because I think if you're somebody that does make, because I try, despite my best efforts, people do this to me anyways, but I try really hard to not like sexualize myself in my content. Like I very rarely talk about my own like personal experiences with kink. I don't like talk about my, like people know I'm into pet play and stuff, right? But like I don't talk about my fetishes. I don't talk about my own kinks. Like I don't talk about that stuff to people as like an audience, because one, I don't want there to be like some weird parasocial relationship around that, and two, because like no one in the internet has like a sense of boundaries. And so even with like my tickle torture video, because obviously people have a fetish for tickling. Like when the tickle fetishes found that video, they were like, "Ooh, can you tickle me, mistress? Mistress, how much are you into tickling? Mistress, how much can I pay you for you to tickle me? Tell me about the first time you orgasm thinking about tickling." Like just like really invasive weird shit. And so I try to be very like circumspect about stuff like that, because I just find it really not not to my taste. And I feel like if I had an OnlyFans, it would be even more of that, or like people would be expecting for that to be part of the package, you know? Okay. Really haven't said anything I've been using. The contour and the blush I used are both from Rituel de Feel, really, really great indie beauty brands. These are their Inner Glow cream pigments. One is in Lovesick, that was the blush, and then Intuition is the contour. And then I used MAC strobe cream. I got a little sample of this at Ulta. I'm not sure I love it. Am I actually, when I tried it with my other foundations, like when I've tried it with the hydrator, the Hydromaniac foundation from Urban Decay, it like rubs away the foundation. It doesn't matter if I layer it underneath the foundation, it doesn't do anything. If I put it on top of the foundation, wherever I put it on, like it removes the foundation. I think this may work with this skin tint, which would be awesome if I have a place where I can use this. So that's fun. And then the highlighter I'm about to use is Squid from, well, it says the Squid Moonlighter. This is from Black Moon Cosmetics, I think. I really like their liquid lipsticks as well, but they're always out of stock. And Fear Nix actually turned me onto this. Love their channel. Always go to them for their foundation reviews when I'm looking at new pale foundations. And yeah, it has a little picture of a squid on the back. Ooh, ah. I I'm kind of just applying all this with my fingers because I think that's the mood we're all in right now. It's just like I don't have to use anything with brushes. I don't have to do any crap like that. Just make it simple. I was wondering if you had any advice on choosing a flogger. There are so many choices, almost overwhelming. Funnily enough, I gave an example earlier of like in my FAQ. I have I if you ask me where to buy a flogger, I've talked about that. I have actually a video on my Patreon where I talk about how to pick out floggers. If you haven't seen that, it's on my Patreon. And generally speaking, it depends on like what sensation you're going for. I think the best, like easiest intro flogger that you can pick that's like not too intense, but like you can still get the sense of the sensation is a deer flogger. They're really common, they're easy to find. If you can, buy from like a local kink maker. If you're on Etsy, be really careful these days because there are a lot of people that are on Etsy selling things that are just reselling crap from like Alibaba or like Wish or whatever that are not actually leather. It's actually like basically synthetic leather that's been like has a very small amount of real leather in it, so they can call it leather, you know? So I would go to like a local like kink seller if you can. Be really like studious looking at the pictures, I guess. And if you are buying a nice vlogger, expect it to be expensive. If your vlogger costs less than $80, it's probably not real leather. Even under I would even almost say under $100 is probably. I think the cheapest I've ever paid for a flogger is I got a lambskin flogger in person at Folsom for like I think $110 or $105. So they can definitely be expensive. So if you want one and it's really cheap, it's probably because it's not actually real. Okay, see what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do this. This is the It Cosmetics Your Skin But Better setting spray. Don't know if this does anything, but I bought a sample of it and we're using it. Gonna try to not get this on my microphone. It's not actually what I do. But actually what I will do. I do this a lot actually more. I spray the setting spray onto like a slightly damp beauty blender and I like bounce it into the skin. And also it's hot outside and this feels nice and cold. And so therefore I like it. I really like how this looks right now. This looks really good. It doesn't, I think also is the lights right now maybe a little bit, but like, I have skin, baby. I have skin going on. And I like this as well. So this is like a weird thing for people to care about. Maybe somebody cares. This is like really like not, like it doesn't transfer that much. Like one is actually on the skin. Like I can sit here and I can do like this. And I find it really, really sets into the skin. And I like my Urban Decay Hydromaniac foundation. I really like, but I find that it does slip. I find in the sense of like if I rub it, it does come off. And I think so far like this doesn't come off like nearly as much. So let's see. Thanks for answering my before after makeup skincare question. Of course. Thank you for asking. So somebody said in regards to the ginger, it's probably mostly mechanically breaking down the fibers, letting more of those volatiles up to the surface. But yes, mold can grow without any air, but it usually has at least some. And then maybe not moldy, but freezing the ginger helps because it breaks down the cells and releases more gingerol. I feel like maybe we should just tell people to freeze the ginger then. Because if the freezing inhibits the mold but still allows the cells to break down to release more of the gingerol, that feels like it's a much safer scenario to be in than like, I don't know, like probably not food poisoning, but just anything moldy going anywhere near genitals I'm nervous about. Somebody did suggest like, oh, what about like using minced ginger or like ginger paste or something on a butt plug? The problem with that is like that doesn't dissolve. Like your butt can't dissolve or like absorb ginger paste. So while you wouldn't have the same risk of like the ginger breaking off and like getting sucked up, you still have the risk of like there being ginger particles in your butt, which it cannot digest and it would eventually make its way to the colon. And I feel like it actually would be harder to remove the minced ginger than a whole piece of ginger. I don't know. I don't work in the ER. It just feels like that would still be a bad idea, but I understand the idea of it because it does solve one problem, but it doesn't like really solve the problem technically, which is a foreign substance being lost in your patukas, you know? I think I've ever said the word patukas out loud. I'm not actually sure that's how that's pronounced now that I've said it. Um, Mmm. Loving BDSM put out a video on choosing impact play toys in general recently, maybe last week. Definitely, definitely. We love the Loving BDSM podcast here. Definitely check them out. Okay, so in regards to music, Game Players says that so depending on how you play, you may want music with a consistent time signature, or you may want or if you're a more complex impact player, changing the time signatures can be fun to play to and surprise your bottom. Definitely, like I don't think it should always be like one tempo. I think if you have more variety, if you are kind of like you can use sort of build a scene. If you pre-build a whole playlist for a whole scene, you can go from kind of like slower, more intimate, building up to be like more intense, really quick, like frantic, fearful, and then like have that kind of work its way back down the other side. Like you can build in the the valleys and the hills of the scene in your music. I think that's a really great idea. Okay, I think what I'm gonna do for my eyes that I wanted to practice because I don't do this kind of look very often is I wanted to do like a really simple like one eyeshadow look just kind of like all over, and then I want to just do just wings. Just wings, baby. I feel like when I'm doing my wings, I feel like I do them kind of big, and then I look at other people's pictures of their winged eyeliner, and I'm like, oh, I don't do that. I think it's maybe because my eyes are kind of small, or like my eyebrows aren't like particularly lifted. I feel like if my eyebrows were up here, I do like way bigger like winged eyeliner, you know. But my eyebrows are like all squishy and like in here. So that's my 2 cents. Oh, I finally got myself an actual eyeliner pencil. I've been using. Oh, gonna yeet itself all across the room. Okay, eyeliner saved. So eyeliner pencil. Finally got one. I was using a crappy one. It was like some random Alta gel pencil for forever, and I finally, cause I needed to buy something from Sephora to get my birthday gift because my birthday was in July, and so I got this so I could get my free birthday gift. It's like sweet, okay, you got this now, and I do really like it because the other one I had like it was really pokey. It transferred a lot. It didn't stay on very well. Like I would almost never do anything involving like pencil eyeliner because I hated that eyeliner so much. And I feel like this is giving me a whole new world to explore. I think I'm just going to do my upper waterline for this. I don't think I'm going to do my lower lash line at all because I think I want it to be really like up and like open. But yeah, anyways, sorry, I'm going to touch my eyeballs now. Content warning for eyeballs. I have to get like really close to them. I have a mirror right here, which is why I'm like, oh, you guys can see like my skin. You can still see the texture, right? You can still see this. You can still see the little thing on my forehead, but like, we're not about hiding every imperfection. We're just about improving. Ugh. Doing the inner part of the waterline is the worst, but we do it because beauty is pain. Okay, eyeliner complete. Have you ever applied makeup on someone else, or has anyone provided you feedback on the brands you use? The reason I ask is if any males have tried or provided feedback. I have never put makeup on a. Okay, I did put makeup on a guy one time. I convinced him to put on eyeliner and a little bit of eyeshadow, but I was borrowing someone else's makeup, and so it was really not good quality. I think they liked it because women found him attractive when he was wearing the makeup, but because it was like it wasn't like a full face of makeup or lipstick or anything. It was like pencil eyeliner and a little bit of like black eyeshadow, like very like lazy goth boy makeup. And I don't think he would ever wear makeup on himself. But I don't think he knew what to think about it enough to give me feedback necessarily. But I have put makeup on like female friends before. I'm not necessarily that good on like applying other people's makeup though, because it's not something I I do, and like the women in my family don't really wear makeup. Like they do a little bit, like they wear blush or mascara or whatever, but I don't put on eye makeup. I don't wear eyeshadow. I think I'm the first woman in my family to wear eyeshadow. Let's see, what color do I want? Usually I like so what I do if I'm trying to figure out how colors will go together is I'll like swatch a little bit on my fingertip like this, and then I'll like hold it up against my eye, and then I'll like see how it'll look against my eye and kind of judge based off of that. So okay, I think I know what I want. So this is again, I'm trying to buy like more indie brand stuff. This is from Give Me Glow. I've referenced them a couple times. Their eyeshadow formula is so good. I have used this so many times. Like this is like my neutral like palette I made for myself. So like if I'm doing like the videos I did, I think it was last week, like the one where I talked about like my boundaries being crossed and like I want to make sure I'm referencing the right videos so you guys like, because people ask me like what eyeshadow I've done and what videos. If I'm doing like neutral makeup in a video, I'm probably using some combination of like these like browns right here. Let's see. I didn't use any of the eyeshadows I used on like the figging video. Those were from like those are from like a just bunch of like random palettes. So that it wasn't from this. But the eyeshadow I did for the video on like when my boundaries were crossed and like talking about the tweet, like that was like these colors right here. And then like lately when I've been doing like just completely neutral like gray black looks, it's been like these three colors. And then if I want something to be shiny, I literally just like don't own shimmers. I just put this on top of whatever. Like that's what I do. That's my technique. But I'm gonna use this like middle, like brownie neutral color. Oh god. Oh, that was almost a disaster. This is grunge lavender. I guess it doesn't really pull purple for me. It's kind of just like a neutral gray brown. It's not really purpley at all, but I guess it is called grunge lavender, so. Oh, hello Brazil. Welcome to the live stream. I watched a lot of the women's gymnastics, and by a lot of the women's gymnastics, I watched literally every second of Olympic women's gymnastics, even though it was on at 3 a.m. my time. All the qualifiers, all everything. I love women's gymnastics. And Rebecca, I'm gonna pronounce this wrong. I'm so sorry. Andrade, Rebecca Andrade from Brazil, and Flavia as well. Though Flavia, unfortunately, I felt bad for her. Her beam routine really did not go good. But Rebecca Andrade just like fucking killed it out there, and I'm so happy for Brazil. I'm so happy y'all are getting some recognition in women's Olympic gymnastics because I think this is going to be really good things for your national program, and you're going to be a competitor. You guys are gonna make the big time. I don't know if you care about women's gymnastics at all. If you have any idea what you're talking about, I just want to like, hey, props to Brazil on that one. Okay, there's the eyeshadow, grunge lavender. It's so nice to join your live family. I love your energy. Such a nice chill atmosphere with you. It's 3 a.m. here and it feels like a sleepover. Oh, thank you. I love that vibe. It is kind of like a sleepover, I guess. For a second, I forgot what a live stream was, and what live stream I was watching, and I heard scene music, and I thought about emo and metal music. True, different scene, but I understand the connection. You will hear, and metal not so much, but you will definitely hear like a little My Chemical Romance and stuff in there. I never had an emo phase. I never had like an emo or a pop punk phase, which I feel like is kind of weird. Like I've told the story a couple times, but I legit went from like listening to like the Dixie Chicks and like my parents like country music and like ACD to or AC just AC ACDC I went from like listening to like my parents' music to like metalcore like over the course of a summer. Like I didn't have any transition music. I didn't have any like oh, you know what? I just like fully like went there because I think I had a friend who had how anybody's gonna remember it. I'm gonna sound like such a fucking dork, but I had a friend that had I think it was Escape the Fate on her iPod, and I listened to that, and my little mind was blown. I was like, oh my god, they like make music like this. This is crazy. And at first I like wasn't really into it, but it was kind of like an acquired taste. And like once I was into it and kind of like used to how it sounded, I was like, oh, this is like really cool. But I feel like a lot of people have like, oh, I forgot to pluck my eyebrows. Whatever. I always feel like whenever I film, like, oh, I didn't pluck my eyebrows, people are gonna tell. You totally can't tell when I don't pluck my eyebrows on camera, and that makes me happy. Okay. I feel like this is good because we're just going for simple. I just wanted something with like a little bit of like, cause I do have kind of like discolored eyelids, and so I feel kind of. I feel. Oh, what the fuck is on my hands? Excuse me. Where did you come from? Was this like on the brush? That's not acceptable. Fired. You're fired, eyeshadow brush. Very rude. Okay, but you can see what I mean. I literally took all that off. I don't think it even like disturbed the foundation. Like what? How is that possible? I don't know. But it looks fine now. Looks fine now. Okay. Okay. I think I'm gonna get a paper towel so I can like clean my fingers off a little bit here because it is a little hectic with the amount of stuff I've applied with my fingers. Informational as usual. UV, I never knew music was a part of a scene. It can be. I should say you don't have to have music in your scenes if you don't want to. Definitely a lot of people really like it, and it is the default. If you go to a dungeon, most places will have music, but if you have like sensory processing issues, if you get overwhelmed by loud music, if you just find it takes you out of your headspace, any reason at all, totally don't have to have music. I know a lot of people that actually like prefer silence, and that's totally fine too. Okay. I have a little bit of paper towel here to help me with my finger situation. Uh, would talking about when music throws you off or could do so be a great idea when planning a scene? Some people have negative emotional ties to some songs. True. I think it's important, like anything that's a trigger for you, I think is like fair game to talk about. That could be music, that could be certain phrases, that could be the lighting scenario, that could be pieces of equipment. It could be literally anything. If that thing is music and it would throw you off, definitely tell people. Okay, so speaking of things I bought at Sephora, they had a little coupon code for a free thing with a purchase, and so I got this Natasha Denona. I don't own anything from Natasha Denona, by the way. This is the Macro Blade liquid eyeliner. I was using the Sharp pen liner from Holika Holika. This is really good reviews. I don't think I love it. I really like pen liners. It's kind of been my thing for the last year or so, but I feel like I don't. This doesn't turn out like totally opaque. Like I have to go over it a couple times in some places to get it totally opaque. But I like the shape of the liner. I like all that stuff, but you know, it's all workable. Not necessarily my favorite, but it's workable. I don't think I love this necessarily, but I like this so far. I've tried it twice. And when you put on eyelashes, to be honest, if you wear like big false eyelashes, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna move this like closer to my face for a second. This is gonna be risky, okay? I've been wearing eyeliner for like 10 years, but it's still risky. How can one break into leather without spending buckets on leather pieces? I know I'm into leather, but I just don't know where to start. Secondhand is great. Definitely, there's like a lot. I mean, it depends on what you want to get, I suppose. But there is lots of secondhand, like upcycled leather that you can get for sure. And that's definitely cheaper than new, more eco-friendly. I'm gonna probably not talk while I'm doing this eyeliner now that I think about it. Uh... All right, what do we think? I won complete. So what I do when I apply eyeliner is I apply it until the very edge of my iris on the inner corner. I don't typically go fully all the way into the inner corner because I don't want my eyes to look like too closed off, but this is like how I normally do my wing is like this. I thought about doing like a really big wing, but I kind of decided against that. I figured we'll just keep it mild. We won't do it spicy today in terms of the wing. Yeah, Poshmark is good. I'm on Poshmark. I wouldn't say I see a lot of leather on there, but maybe I don't look in the right places. I personally have found stuff while just like thrifting in person. Buffalo Exchange. I don't know what other chain places there are that do. I know there's another one that I can think of the logo of, but I can't remember the name of. Not Plato's Closet or Goodwill or anything like that. Although Value Village, anywhere like that, you can definitely get stuff there, especially if you live in a big enough city. Mmm. Oh, I didn't know this was happening. So, game player said we need to talk about the issues on FetLife with people using facial recognition to ID people on other social media and docs blackmail them. So, I have a video that's coming out very soon where actually I'm gonna answer this and then I'm gonna do my eyeliner. I have a video that's coming out very soon where I talk about how to stay safe in the BDSM community. And the last part of the video is talking about privacy. One of the pieces of advice I give on there is like when you're on FetLife, have just a profile picture that is public because that is required and that's it. Everything else should be friends only, and preferably in your picture, it should never be a picture that you have on any of your other vanilla social media accounts, any of the other social media accounts, period, ideally. And your face also shouldn't be like clearly like recognizable in it, especially if you care about privacy. Obviously, if you're fully out, if you don't give a shit, if your work doesn't care, if you work for a sex toy manufacturer, do whatever you want. But if you want that separation, if you don't want your vanilla and kink lives to cross over, more separation is definitely better because not even just using facial recognition software, like literally just doing a like reverse image search on Google and then somebody finding your Instagram account that's vanilla, it's connected to your vanilla Facebook account because it's the same thing as your FetLife profile picture. You don't have to use any sort of fancy software to do that. It's right click and then it's on the wheel, It's not that hard to do. So having that separation is definitely a good thing. But obviously, cater it to your own risk profile. And not generally for people. Like, I definitely get suspicious when people don't have, like, when people use, like, a stolen picture from the internet as their profile picture. Like, people that have, like, a Garfield cartoon or like a something that's obviously a painting or like a photo from Tumblr. Like I'm not into that. I don't want to like cuz FetLife actually like makes you say when you upload a picture that it's your property. And so you should probably stay on the right side of that if you want to be able to keep your account, especially with your profile picture. But there are definitely ways to still have it be like your picture without it being directly recognizable as you. That's my advice. But yeah, it definitely you want to people don't think about it and you definitely should Because it's an issue, for sure. Okay, I feel like these wings look similar enough. Maybe? I feel like the edge on this one isn't as sharp. And literally, if I'm trying to fix my eyeliner, I will literally just like use the nail on my pinky to like even it out. That's the technique, okay? That's the vibe. Oh, I could probably take off the foundation that's on my lips. What do you guys think about that? That's probably a good idea. Okay, the last thing I need to do is my mascara. I'll find a question to answer while my eyeliner is setting. There we go, that's better. Not just foundation everywhere. Oh, what are some good names to call a female dom besides mistress? That is a wonderful question. There are many titles. Depends on what you want, obviously. But off the top of my head, I would say obviously, yeah. Mistress, ma'am, miss, lady, queen, princess, duchess, your highness, your honor, your royalty, your royal highness. Um, let's see. You can even use like also you can use sir and daddy for female doms too. Obviously, you can also just say dom, like DOM or DOMME, domina. That's also a very popular one as well. Miss, if you want something that's sort of like mistress but doesn't have the same connotations, like miss definitely works also. Any sort of role related terms, so like mommy is like a really popular one, obviously. Goddess, that's also probably a pretty popular one. Yeah, lots of options for sure. Lots of options. Okay, eyeliner done. Mascara happening now. This is the Tarte gifted Amazonian clay. I think. Again, I pretty much just wear like false eyelashes, so I don't really care that much about mascara, but this is what we're doing. I used to use an eyelash curler, but I don't anymore because the last time I used one, I ripped out half of my eyelashes on one eye. And it took me 4 months to grow them back. And so now I don't use eyelash curlers anymore because I never want that to happen again. Hmm. Is there a social scene or a popular type of play for people very into leather without enjoying hardcore S&M or focus on impact play? Yeah, totally. I think you could even say that the leather community is like primarily social. It depends on where you live, obviously, but like a lot of leather culture, if you mean like leather culture and not just like people that think leather is like hot or something. Because there's definitely a thing. Like, I'm thinking of capital L, like leather. People that are into capital L leather, I mean, it's mostly social events. It's like discussion groups, it's high protocol dinners, it's motorcycle rides, it's going to bars and drinking whiskey. Like, if you like drinking at all or okay being around it socially, if you are into smoking or being around cigar smoke or motorcycles or protocol events or dinner parties or barbecues or camping trips, anything like that. I don't know. Hello, focus on my face, not on the microphone, camera. I'm listening to me. I'm your master. Okay. Oh, we have a super chat from Melanie. Signed up for my first tickle session tomorrow. First time being tied up and tickled, really nervous. Any advice? Well, I just did a whole video on tickle torture. So if you haven't seen that, watch that. If you have watched it and you're like, I still need help, my advice is always play with a safe word. Make sure that you have had a lot of good negotiation about what your boundaries are. Make sure somebody knows where you're at, especially if you're going to like some random person's house or like a pro dom dungeon or whatever and you're going to be alone. Make sure somebody knows where you're at. Drink water, be hydrated, have a light snack before you go, get a granola bar, protein bar, just something to kind of settle your stomach. Breathe, it'll be okay. That's my advice. Also, plan for aftercare. Definitely. Make sure you have a plan in place for aftercare if you don't already. And that's how you will have a good time. Okay, we got 10 minutes left. 10-minute warning. I think that's what I want for today in terms of makeup. I feel like we did pretty good. Can let my bangs go free now. Oh, we have another super chat from Jimmy. Thank you so much. It is if you guys can't see, it's a dancing lemon with heart eyes. I guess that's the closest we could get to ginger, right? We love it. Thank you. There it is. There it is. Thank you. Yeah, sarcastically asking me what is the scene like in London. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I'd say the Anatomy Studio in London sounds like a really fun time to go to, and I'd love to try there at some point. But I've never been, so I don't know. Hmm. Oh, thank you so much. I've been watching Evie's videos lately. LMAOS is my favorite channel I've ever come across so far on YouTube. Thank you. I'm definitely not perfect, but I appreciate it. Thank you. Mmm, being labeled clingy is better than being labeled a princess in some scenes, at least. Really interesting. It's like princess. I personally haven't heard the term princess being used in a negative way before. I could totally see how that might happen. Like, in the same way, like, I think brat here is used more derisively than princesses. But the whole sort of like princess, hopping from the bottom, like anything like that. People will make it an insult if they have to. They'll find a way, even if it's otherwise completely fine. Is there a place that isn't FetLife to engage with the local community with? Um, I think if you want to engage in the local community, the advice I've always given is like go to a munch, meet people. People do generally connect over FetLife, but I think especially in the last like year or two, a lot of communities have their own Discord chats now. They have their own group chats and like WhatsApp, places like that, maybe even Telegram. So there are definitely alternatives, but none of them are as like widespread or as open as FetLife. It's going to be more of like you meet people and then you get an invite to socialize somewhere else, like if there is something else is where it's going to be. Doms need hugs too, for sure. Absolutely. Aftercare is for everyone, as is physical affection and love. Mmm. Well, that's a tough position to be in, Zabe. Is it Zabe or Zabe? I literally watched an entire video earlier today where somebody pronounced Shinzo Abe as Abe. Abe, like he's Abe Lincoln. The Japanese Prime Minister, Shinzo Abe. Good old honest Shinzo Abe. It's Abe. Anyways, I don't know. Is it Zabe or Zabe? Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's something totally different. Uh, but okay, anyway, sorry, I don't mean to make a joke out of that, but they said, I think this may be our last question. We'll see how much I ramble for this one. I just really, really, really want to stay in my relationship, but I also really, really, really need help with ideas training my partner to be more of a dom and a top to fulfill me completely. Maybe a book. There is so much going on that needs to be unpacked. I totally understand what you're going through. I get it. It does really, really suck. I think there are like different levels that like needing to train your partner to be more of a dom and a top to fulfill you could exist on. It could be he doesn't have any experience doing the kind of play that I like, and like I need to help him get education to learn how to do the thing that I like, and it's just like a type of play. It's just like he doesn't know like what DDLG is about or whatever. Then at the bottom layer, you have like this person is not independently interested in BDSM whatsoever. They have never educated themselves. They've never read a book. They don't want to. They are not interested in their own education. They're just kind of like, oh yeah, well, I guess that's something you're into. Like, I'd be open to trying it. And they try it with like the same kind of approach that you do when you're like deciding to get sushi with your partner for dinner instead of pizza, even though they don't really like sushi. You know? So it's like where on that spectrum of like my partner needs help knowing how to be a good dom for me is like this happening on. Because if it's on the level of like they aren't really into being a dom themselves, but they want to do it for me, that is a very different scenario than like, oh, they're just not, they don't really know how to do the one type of kink that I want to do. You know, I would definitely recommend like books are always a really good starting place. There are more and more audiobooks coming out as well for kink subjects. It's not something that's like you're going to find a ton of stuff in because it is a kink subject, usually self-published, usually don't get audiobook versions. But there are definitely lots of options for books. I believe Anton, not Anton LaVey. He doesn't have a book about DS. Anton, I'm good at what is his name? He has a book that's called The Dominance Playbook. Anton Fullman is his name. This is a very recent book. It has pretty good reviews. I think the average review for it is like 4.5 something stars, like 4.5. Um, he has two books. So you almost like, I don't know how beginner this guy is. I feel like the Dominance Playbook might be a little bit much if he doesn't know anything about BDSM. So I'd recommend like the New Topping book, The Heart of Dominance, the Dominance Playbook. Those would probably be like my top picks for like specifically a beginner top that doesn't really necessarily know what they might be into or if they feel comfortable with it or not. Lots of other options as you get into kind of like wider areas of BDSM. But those ones are some good options. I would probably start there. However, like none of that is necessarily foolproof in terms of like they're going to read this book and now they're going to like totally understand what's enjoyable about BDSM. Like it's really, really hard to predict that. And sometimes just like making them read a book, making them watch a YouTube video, making them watch a TED Talk, like you're kind of just at some point delaying the inevitable, which is them being like, I'm actually not really into BDSM. And I think at the end of the day, in order for dominance to work at any level, there has to be like this initial like spark of curiosity internally. Like it maybe is a partner that introduced it to you. It maybe is something you didn't find till later in life. Like you don't have to like be born a dominant and realize you were a dom when you're like 12 years old, right? You don't have to have this like really insane origin story, but you have to have that like internal thing in you that like wants that for yourself in order for a relationship based on that to be sustainable. Because if your entire interest in BDSM is just about, I want to make my partner happy, if you try to make a DS relationship based off of that, it is going to inevitably crash and burn unless that person finds their own internal drive towards it. And if they don't want to educate themselves, if they don't want to be part of the community, if they're only kind of doing whatever it is you tell them to do, like, it's not going to fulfill you as a submissive, first of all, regardless. But it ultimately is like, you can kind of tell they're just going through the motions to make you happy, and like, who wants to be in that scenario? So I know it sucks. I totally get like wanting to stay in that relationship, and I hope that it is something that is salvageable. But you have to be able to tell when is this like a scenario where somebody doesn't really want to do this, but is trying to do it to make you happy, versus like they do want to do it, but they don't know how yet. They don't have the tools to do it, or they're kind of dealing with their own guilt, shame, trauma, whatever, in order to get to a point where they can like more fully accept their dominance or their toppiness or whatever. But yeah, if somebody's like not a top, like you can, somebody's not a dom, like you can teach them how to top, right? You can teach someone how to throw a flogger. You can teach someone what a safe word is. You can teach someone how to spank someone. It doesn't make them a top. It doesn't make them a dom, because there has to be that heart internally. And the same way you can't like, because think about it from the other direction, right? Like if you were a partner that was trying to make your partner be submissive, like most people would label that as domestic abuse. Like most people would say, you're trying to make your boyfriend be subservient to you. You're trying to dominate him. Like this is abuse. Like he gets to have a voice in the relationship. Blah blah blah. Like most people would like I think in though maybe not as an extreme a label as abuse. Like I think that is like a coercive behavior to do towards your partner to make them be something you're not for your own pleasure. And I think we have to consider that very seriously from the top side as well. If like somebody isn't geared in that direction, like again, you can't make a square. It's a cliche, but you can't make a square peg fit in a round hole. And you can keep fucking smashing that square peg into that round hole, and eventually you may wear it down to the point where you can kind of shove it in there. But you had to destroy the game board in the process, and then you can't play with it anymore. So you have to be really, really careful. But yeah, I totally wish you luck. Like, definitely best of luck in your journey. It is a really, really complicated scenario. So just like be mindful. You're probably going to have some hard scenarios. Definitely like reading books, YouTube videos, going to classes together. I think if you can do this, if it's safe where you live, this is available to you, even online classes, like taking a class in person where you can in like a tactile way experience BDSM together can like make it feel real. It may be like too much pressure for them to try and do like a whole BDSM scene when they've never done it before, like in your own house, but maybe doing like a demo or like a workshop or something where you can kind of give it a taste together under like the guide of an experienced practitioner, under a teacher. That may help them feel confident enough to explore that fully and kind of like lean into it. And also just kind of let them know like how it really feels and maybe combat any sort of assumptions maybe they have. So that's my advice. We are over time. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed kind of this mix of different stuff that we've talked about. Yeah, but this is really fun. We are going to be doing a live stream actually tomorrow on Patreon. We are doing a movie night. We are watching a German BDSM documentary called Violently Happy that is about exploring the BDSM scene in Berlin. So if you would like to watch that documentary with us, it is at 6 p.m. tomorrow, so the same time that this live stream starts, but tomorrow on Saturday. Anyone on Patreon, any tier, any level, any amount of money, join us. It's going to be really, really fun. Even if you can't make it during that exact time, I do leave the like movie night videos, like the recordings of them up for like a couple days afterwards. So if you work on the weekends, if you're busy, if it's a different time zone, you have time to watch it later. But yeah, we're going to be watching that documentary. It should be really good. It's been on my radar for a while, but yeah, we're going to watch Violently Happy, German BDSM documentary. And I have a whole list of other videos we're going to be doing. Like I think in September we're gonna do like a double header for Shibari documentaries, which would be a lot of fun. And it's got a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff going on. Keep yourself safe. Keep yourself safe. Drink water. Have an AC. Stay indoors. Wear sunscreen. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.